It is the Group B finals for season 13 of The Masked Singer, and we're going country. It's Grand Ole Opry night. Let's talk The Masked Singer. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It, and welcome to my recap and reaction video for The Masked Singer. We are on the Group B finals now, so this is the last time we will ever see one of these contestants, but two will be moving on to the Lucky Six, as they're calling it. So two from Group A are already there, two from Group B tonight, and then next week we will meet Group C for the first time. So we have 5 new masks to talk about next week. But for this week, we have the Pearl, Griffin, and Boogie Woogie all left, and they're gonna sing some country tunes for us, and we'll talk about all this here in just a second. First, let me welcome you back to the channel. I know if you are one of my Masked Singer watchers, you are faithful and loyal to that, and I certainly do appreciate it, but feel free to check out the other stuff on my channel. I do TV and movie reviews other than the Masked Singer stuff, and I do new videos just about every day, so there's always a lot going on here on the channel, and always a lot to check out. And please subscribe below if you haven't already. And comment, too, because always with these Masked Singer videos, I love hearing from you in the comments and interacting with you about who you think is under these masks. And I think we've got a pretty good selection here of who is left. I think one of them I was right on from the start, if it's who I think it is. And the other two I've flipped a little bit thanks to your comments. So Grand Ole Opry night begins with Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy from the 3 remaining contestants. And look, to be honest, when I heard this was Grand Ole Opry night, I just thought, well, this sort of is designed to keep Pearl in the game, because Pearl, I believe, is a country singer, and I've thought that since the start. I've changed who I thought it was, but it was fairly obvious that Pearl was likely some sort of country singer just from the start, and so I thought, well, okay, this seems like a week designed to keep her in the competition, which is a little bit of a cheat to me, but okay. But we have Casey Wilson on the panel, subbing for Rita Ora. I don't know what happened to her, and they didn't really explain it. I don't know if she was ill or prior commitment or whatever, but Nick just said she's replacing Rita for the week. And Casey Wilson, many people may not know her. I mean, she's not like a huge star, but she was on Saturday Night Live for about 3 years. I know her, well, I know her certainly from SNL. In fact, I just watched one of her sketches last night without even knowing she was on the show. But Happy Endings is one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. It only ran 3 years, but she was very funny on it, and a great ensemble on that show. So that's where she really came to my attention, although I think that probably was after SNL. I would have to think. But in any event, you might know her, you might not, but she is a big fan of the show, and she's a big fan of country music. And she said she's been watching the show all season, which they tape the whole season before any of it airs. So I'm assuming that they gave her tapes of the show, because her guesses are really good. Like, a lot of the guest panelists they have come on just don't know much about the rest of the season. They just base their guess on the current performance and the current clues. But she has some really good guesses. So in any event, let's get to it here. Pearl was up first, and she says, well, Dolly Parton shines brighter than the rest at the Opry. I was dazzled by her, like everyone. So when I was invited to join the stage with her, you can imagine my first thought. What would I wear? And then she's holding up a card that says party invite, as she's saying some of that. This designer Dum Dum showed up with no clue, and Dolly was wearing the perfect outfit, and she said, honey, I've got 2 of everything. You can have one. And we see a Christmas wreath while she's saying that. We also see like a ceramic angel, and that's it. And she sings a Dolly classic, Here You Come Again. And then afterwards, all of the clues came in the form of like a tattoo on a cowboy, I guess. So we have a strong arm. I don't have a strong arm, so I don't know why I just did that. But it was like an arm with a big muscle on it, tattoo. And she says, as a strong woman, there's nothing I like more than making others feel strong. And I've been quoted as saying that. So the guesses from the panel, are all sort of right around it. We're all talking about country singers here. Ken thought it might be Sheryl Crow. Jenny thought it might be Trisha Yearwood or my first guest from opening week with Group B, Kelly Pickler. So finally, her name has been mentioned this season. She's been mentioned before, but I think that's a good guess from Jenny. And then Casey went a bit above and beyond for this one and said Carrie Underwood might be under the mask. I don't think so. I don't think Carrie Underwood is there in her career to do this show. Maybe in another 10 years, but she's still doing very well. But none of these, match who I believe it is, thanks to your comments. I said that first week, maybe Kelly Pickler, but you guys were on the Gretchen Wilson mindset, and I honestly hadn't thought about her in 20 years. I know her big hit, obviously, Redneck Woman, but I'm not super tuned in with the country music stuff. I know some of it, but other than that song, Redneck Woman, I never heard anything from her other than that. But last week there were some clues. I was like, I don't know. I might need some help connecting them in the comments. And you guys did inform me that she indeed worked very young at a bar or a restaurant. She had mentioned that. And we connected the football clue somehow. I forget now. She did sing an anthem or something at a baseball game. So that connects the baseball clue from that first week. But then there was a crescent moon, and I had said she did a cover of Bad Moon Rising with Nancy Wilson from Heart. But I think this is the biggest clue for Gretchen Wilson yet, when she holds up the card that said party invite when she was talking about being invited to the Grand Ole Opry. Well, the album that Redneck Woman came from, a multi-platinum record, I believe, was called Here for the Party. So that to me is the biggest visual clue we've gotten so far. I don't know enough about her career to say if she's done Christmas music or not. I feel like most artists at some point do some Christmas songs or a Christmas album, so that could be for anybody. But yeah, I'm going to stick with my guess of Gretchen Wilson for the Pearl. I think that party invite really seals that deal. All right, up next, and by the way, I should say, after everybody sang and they said, okay, here's who's going on to the Lucky Six, it is the Pearl, which makes sense because, like I said, this night seemed sort of designed to bring Pearl into the Lucky Six. So we had left Griffin and Boogie Woogie. Griffin went first, and that is actually who is going home. So we'll talk about the clues and then go right to the unmasking before we talk about Boogie Woogie. But so Griffin says, I can't believe I'm on this night. I'm really starting to appreciate country music. We see a rowboat there. He said, after so many years in the spotlight, I moved my family to the country. And we see him holding a remote control to a TV. He says, a place where we could live with nature. And there is a little 8x10 of the Griffin family, and it looks like there are several kids there. So this guy has a big-ish family. He said it's been a tough year with news that has changed everything. We see a first aid kit. He says, my family makes me strong, and they saved me, or they stood by me in our home. They're standing for me they're strong for me when I can't be strong myself. And then he sang Take Me Home, Country Roads, the John Denver classic from the mid-'80s. And his post-song clue was Texas. He said, the Lone Star State played a big role in making me a star. And so the panel made their guesses, but they're the same guesses that they make at the end of the show. So let's just go right to that. We did have Detective Lucky Duck come in, and I guess at some point we're going to try and guess who Detective Lucky Duck is, because Nick asked them if the panel had any guesses based on what he was saying. So I don't know. I don't really have a guess yet on Detective Lucky Duck. I don't think we've got enough about him. Before the Cloodle Doo was Donnie Wahlberg, so I do think it's somebody probably with some sort of relation to the show, like a Joel McHale, somebody that's not on the show all the time, but that has some sort of very strong connection. Donnie, obviously, being Jenny McCarthy's husband. But yeah, I mean, Joel McHale makes the most sense to me, especially because he's always promoting Fox shows and all of that. But anyway, he said that one singer from season 6 has a connection to all 3 finalists for tonight, and that is Catherine McPhee. And then he said that him, meaning Detective Lucky Duck, and Catherine McPhee I'm sorry, Casey Wilson and Detective Lucky Duck, that's what he means, were in a historic show together. So whoever Detective Lucky Duck is has been in something with Casey Wilson, a TV show. We mentioned Saturday Night Live. We mentioned Happy Endings, so she's been a part of both of those. But she also, as she pointed out, did Drunk History, and it's interesting because Detective Lucky Duck said we were in a historic show together. So I would say that's probably not Happy Endings. Saturday Night Live is a historic show for sure, but Drunk History is literally a historic show. So that could be where he was going with that. There's been, I mean, everybody has done Drunk History. I don't know if they mean they did her specific episode of Drunk History. I've only seen a handful of episodes of that, and I've never seen hers. So I would have to look into that. But that was an interesting clue for who Lucky Duck is. But in any event, the Catherine McPhee clue does not lead me to anywhere with Gretchen Wilson. I haven't looked at that. Griffin, not so much. I do have a connection with Boogie Woogie that we'll get to. But all right, so as we went through the Griffin is going home now, and we get the final clue before the panel makes their final guesses. It was a football, and he says it's been a big part of my career. So earlier in the episode, and then again at the final here, Robin was thinking Friday Night Lights was what Texas made him think of. And the football sort of cemented that. And he was thinking Kyle Chandler from the series Friday Night Lights. Now, it's interesting because I think we all kind of assumed that Griffin was a bit younger than that. Kyle Chandler has got to be, I mean, close to 60, right? I mean, Friday Night Lights was 20 some years ago now. I think it started as a TV show around 03 or 04, so in the 20-year range. And he was the coach of that show. So, I mean, he was already in his probably 40s or late 30s when that show was on. So, I think this is somebody younger than that for sure. There's obviously a lot of other Friday Night Lights people you could pick. Taylor Kitsch has been mentioned on this show several times. But he stuck with that. Jenny made a comment for the first time. She did not make an original guess when Griffin sang this week. And I don't think we've heard this person this season. He's been mentioned before. But she was thinking it might be Chad Michael Murray. I don't know enough about his career, but I guess he had a football movie or something. And then Ken, earlier in the show, said Josh Hartnett, saying he's got kind of a comeback going with Oppenheimer. And he was out of the spotlight for quite a while. He had another movie this year last year, 2024, called Trap. That was god-awful, but he was the star of it. And Ken mentioned he was in The Faculty, and he was a football player or whatever in that. So that was his guess. And then Casey Wilson coming in with the clutch. She was saying what I have been thinking. Well, first, my original guess was Frankie Muniz. But then after hearing from you guys in the comments, I thought, yeah, James Van Der Beek actually makes a lot of sense. Fast ticket to stardom, overnight success. I didn't know about his health issues. That's what sort of threw me a little bit. And I hadn't thought of him that first week, but apparently he had a big cancer scare last year that he went public with. I guess I just wasn't paying attention. I didn't know. So obviously that leads into a lot of the clues this week, as we're going back to, his health issues, and my family was strong for me when I couldn't be. And that's something he talked about in the first week, that he had recent health issues, which is why I thought maybe Frankie Muniz, they weren't so recent, but, he had a lot of strokes shortly after Malcolm in the Middle wrapped, so whatever. But I didn't hate that guess from the first week clues, but Casey Wilson connected everything else, and obviously the Texas clue and the football clue this week are for Varsity Blues, his first big movie. Dawson's Creek was a success at that point, and obviously we saw the rowboat in this week's episode. For me, this one is a slam dunk. It's got to be the Beak, James Van Der Beek, and good on Casey for getting that right. But we assume. Let's go to the take it off and see if it actually is. For all I know, it could be Taylor Kitsch. Maybe he had a cancer scare last year too. I don't know, but pretty sure it's Van Der Beek. Let's take a look. And that's from you guys in the comments, really. Come on. Yes, God, he still looks the same. He looks like he did when he was Dawson. I love him. And I can't believe I didn't know he had a big cancer scare. That's crazy to me. Nobody, by the way, the guest panelists Never get it right. So the fact that Casey got it right is awesome. She said it's the best thing that ever happened to her. James Vanderbeek. I didn't know he could sing like that. Great voice. Great voice.
Casey, this is your first day at work. Wow. And you got it right.
I can't believe it.
Just put us all to shame.
Yeah, they're all applauding Casey.
Greatest accomplishment in my entire life. I'm such a huge fan of yours. And honestly, guys, it wasn't that hard.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We knew you could act.
I knew it was somebody in that sort of overnight success vein. My original guesses were either Frankie Muniz or Jason Priestley. But
I have always loved to sing. When I was a kid, I did children's theater musicals in my hometown.
yeah, he kept talking about how he was
big
into Broadway.
and,
Yeah.
virtually unknown outside of New York. And then I was 20. I accidentally became a teen idol, so that plan went out the window. And then,
Okay.
yeah, but and the singing is the one thing I've never gotten to do. So I was like, you know what? This looks like a lot of fun. So let's do it.
Yeah, I never knew he could sing like that. So good for him.
How was this entire experience for you?
This was the
He had
perfect
Broadway
thing
stuff.
to be doing right now. I've been dealing with some health stuff. It's all kind of come out publicly, and so to be able to put on a mask,
Yeah.
inhabit a character, and connect with an audience just
Good for him.
with a song and be that connective tissue between me and y'all, it's been just a blast. So thank you.
All right. Well, there you go.
Earlier, you had the panel, emotional. Robin even spoke.
All right,
you know,
well,
from, like,
all right.
father to father, about like how touching everything was.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. All right. Well, there you go. Vanderbeek. I love seeing him, and I wish him well for sure on his journey with the cancer. Hopefully it's in remission or will be soon. Because he's a great dude. If you've never seen the sitcom Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, he plays a heightened version of himself. I believe that is still on Hulu or something, but that was a very funny show. Yeah. All right. So Boogie Woogie is next and final for tonight. And the two of them, before they officially said who is going home, they did the Battle Royale with I Had Some Help, which is a song by Post Malone and Morgan Wallen. I don't really listen to Morgan Wallen, but I have heard that song somewhere. I didn't know that's who sang it, but I guess I've heard it on the radio or whatever. But they both sang a pretty similar version of the song. Nobody really changed it up crazy. But the Boogie Woogie, he says, for me, no one had a better voice than my mom. My parents are both musicians, and they filled our home with happy songs. It must be where I got it. There must be something in the water there. And we see an X made by bones, like crossbones, or whatever. And, that could indicate pirate something. Jenny thought it might mean X Factor. But he said, a darkness washed over me because I lost my mom a few years ago, and the house became quiet and empty. But I had her recordings, and the room filled with warmth again. And we see English 101, a book that says English 101 there. And so he sings, indeed, Something in the Water by Carrie Underwood. He alluded to that in the clue package. And then his post-song clue, MLB, he said, people say I hit a real home run at the World Series. So all of a sudden, Jenny was like, oh my God, could this be an athlete that can sing that well? And Robin brought her back down to earth and said, well, I think it's probably somebody who sang an anthem at one of the World Series. So the guesses, I don't actually think we've heard any of these this season, but they're all actually pretty good guesses. I don't think any of them are right. They aren't saying what I've been saying since week 1 on Group B, but they're all pretty good guesses. Robin thought it might be Ryan Tedder from One Republic, who obviously has written a ton of songs. And I do think, there's been a lot talked about with Boogie Woogie having an upbeat attitude, being a happy dude. And I think Ryan Tedder certainly has that motif going for him as well. Ken thought it might be Gavin DeGraw, who has definitely sang at, I don't know the World Series specifically, but certainly done some national anthems before. He's a great singer. He gets guests every few seasons. And he's another one, though, that I feel like has been on this show. And last week, Jenny guessed Jason Mraz, or Rita did, and I swore Jason Mraz did this show. And you guys in the comments said, no, he didn't. So I think I was thinking of this show that they did during the pandemic on TBS called Celebrity Show Off. And Jason Mraz did some kind of comedy routine or something. I forget. But I don't know. I guess I thought Chase, maybe he's just been guest so many times. But Gavin DeGraw, has he not been on this show? That seems crazy to me. And then Casey guest Josh Groban. Again, not a terrible guess, but I don't think that's quite right. So my guess from the start has been Andy Grammer. Week 1, I was sort of going off The Voice alone because I didn't know a lot about his background, but as the weeks have continued and we've learned more, I definitely think this is Andy Grammer. And we have the book that says English 101. Well, 101 means like the beginning class of, right? And what is the beginning of English? It's called grammar. You're going to grammar school, all of that. So it's Andy Grammer. Let's just not mince words on that. And he did actually sing the national anthem of the World Series. I think it was in 2022, but I don't know. But it was just a few years ago. But he did sing the national anthem at a World Series game. So that clue matches as well. But nobody has guessed Andy Grammer yet this season. And now we will not see these characters again for a few weeks. So the next 3 weeks, we'll have Group C. And that's going to be the same thing as it's been here. We'll start with 5. 1 will be eliminated. 1 will be eliminated. And then the final 3, 1 will be eliminated. And the final 2 move on to the Lucky 6. The week after that, we will have the Lucky 6. So that will include who from Group A is still even in this. Let's see here. So it'll be the Pearl and the Boogie Woogie from Group B. And for Group A, it will be the Ant and the Coral, I guess, right? No. The Paparazzi, is he still in this? Oh, I think he is. Yeah, the Ant actually was the one that went home. So the Coral and the Paparazzo moved on from Group A. All right. Well, so there's 4 of the 6 so far. Next week we will meet Group C rather. All right. Thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and we'll see you next time. Bye.